All right, what's going on YouTube? This is BoxingWave. So I wanted to make a video about Pacquiao and Thurman, what this fight actually means to them, and what everybody is saying as far as Errol Spence. Okay, what people are saying, they're saying that basically saying that the two of these fighters have cherry picked each other, basically, okay, in order to avoid Errol Spence. Now, we all know these guys are on the PBC side. I'm not going to get too much into Terrence Crawford because we already know what the excuse is. I'm going to speak on Terrence Crawford because I want to address some things that Keith Thurman has said about Terrence Crawford, okay? So we're not going to leave him out of there, but there are a lot of people saying that both Manny Pacquiao and Keith Thurman are thugging Errol Spence, all right? Errol Spence recently beat Mikey Garcia. He called out Manny Pacquiao. Pacquiao did come to the ring, but didn't seem too interested in Errol. I made a video months ago. It was either around the time Pacquiao fought Broner, maybe before, maybe after, but this was around the time, or at least before Keith Thurman fought Josecito Lopez, okay? So as we're waiting for that fight, I was breaking down the welterweight division. I was giving you my thoughts on where Pacquiao stands amongst all the other welterweights, okay? And basically what I said is that I feel that Pacquiao is going to fight Keith Thurman, okay? I think the matchup is a great matchup. I think that's a fight which is very, very debatable, okay? Some people are going to say that the Manny Pacquiao-Errol Spence fight is debatable. Many people are going to come in here and say that Manny Pacquiao could be Errol Spence. That's fine. This video is not about that. What I'm saying is that right now, Keith Thurman seems to be the more beatable opponent because he hasn't been active, okay? This is not about fight breakdowns. This is just me. I'm looking at it, especially now that Keith have fought Josecito Lopez. Didn't look impressive in that fight, but he still holds a title. He's still undefeated. He still, as far as resume, probably has the best as a welterweight. He still has the best resume as a welterweight outside, of course, Manny Pacquiao. Okay? So I feel like this. When it comes to Manny Pacquiao, and I say this, he doesn't need to hold a title. He doesn't hold one of the 4 major titles right now. He doesn't have to hold a title. People are going to stop what they're doing in order to fight him. It was the same with Floyd Mayweather. It's the same now with Canelo Alvarez. People are going to stop what they're doing in order to fight Manny Pacquiao. Okay? So whether it was Spence who got the phone call, whether it's Crawford who got the phone call, whoever you can name, Danny Garcia, everybody is going to stop what they're doing to fight Manny Pacquiao. In this case, Keith Thurman got the phone call as predicted, and he's now fighting Manny Pacquiao. Okay? Keith Thurman is deserving of that shot because he's done the most at welterweight. I know he hasn't been active lately, but he's done the most at welterweight. He's been there. He actually deserved his shot at Floyd. Floyd never gave him the shot, okay? I believe that he deserves a big fight, and he's now getting one. Hopefully, he can perform and do well against Manny Pacquiao, but to say that he doesn't deserve the fight is ridiculous, okay? I know he hasn't been active, but he deserves the fight, all right? I know Errol has been doing a lot lately. I know he beat Kell Brook, but outside of that Kell Brook win, Kell Brook is one guy as far as the major guys at 140, the big time heavy hitters. Keith beat 2 of them, all right? So in all fairness, Keith Thurman deserves it the most. All right? It's not about what I want. It's not about my preference. It's about the guy does deserve a big shot. All right. Now, what I have a problem with Keith Thurman, he's very inconsistent. At this point, he might as well just embrace the bad guy role, because he's not the guy he once was. Everyone keeps bringing up what how he was against Paulie Malignaggi back in that press conference, how he was chasing fighters back then. Well, people fail to mention that Keith Thurman was calling out Amir Khan, calling him a cherry picker. When Amir Khan was fighting Chris Algieri back in 2015, Keith Thurman was calling out Amir Khan and calling him a cherry picker. This is when Khan beat Devin Alexander, beat Louis Collazo. But back then, Keith Thurman was like, no, I want to introduce you to welterweight. I want to really introduce you to welterweight. I want to fight you. But now after Terrence Crawford beats him, Keith is saying things like, well, Crawford hasn't really fought a real welterweight. Well, Khan has had several fights at welterweight. Now, he's been at welterweight for a while now. What more does he have to do? I mean, you called out Danny Garcia when he moved up. But now you have a problem with Terrence Crawford. It's okay for you to call out Danny and Amir Khan. And even a Paulie Malignaggi, because he hasn't always been at welterweight neither. He wasn't always at welterweight. But when it comes to Terrence Crawford, he needs to beat someone. Well, before Terrence Crawford beat Jeff Horn, everyone was saying, well, let's see what he's going to do in the Jeff Horn fight, including Errol Spence. That's what everybody was saying. So the problem I have with Keith is he's inconsistent. He speaks well, but there's a lot of air coming out his mouth. Just a lot of talk. All right? He's a great speaker. And I think he's a pretty solid commentator, But I'm starting to really see through it all, Keith Thurman, he'll say in one interview, in the same exact interview, he'll say things like, well, this is my year to get back. This is the get back year. Okay. Is Manny Pacquiao a get back fighter? I don't believe he is. Now, understand, like I said earlier in this video, Manny Pacquiao, anybody's going to fight Manny Pacquiao. It doesn't matter what situation they're in. If you get the phone call to fight Manny Pacquiao, you're going to take it. Manny Pacquiao chooses you. You don't choose him. The only person that chose him was Floyd Mayweather. He was the only guy that was the A side in that fight. But outside of him, Manny Pacquiao chooses you. But still, if you're getting back and you're fighting Manny Pacquiao, if you are to beat Manny Pacquiao, Errol Spence, Sean Porter, winner, there should be no question about who you're facing next. It should be no debate. There should be no wondering who's next. You beat Manny Pacquiao, you coming off, you got a get back fight, you got to come back, you dusted some of the rust off against Josecito Lopez. Okay? I'm glad you got rocked. I'm glad you had that disastrous 7th round. I'm glad that you didn't stop him, because it was a reality check. Like, you're just not going to come back in here and just go right back to being one time. But now that you are fighting Manny Pacquiao, if you are to beat Manny Pacquiao, that should show that we should know enough by that point that you're good enough to fight with anybody. You don't need any more getting back. If you beat Manny Pacquiao, that's all we need, bro. We don't need, maybe, I'm not going to fight next Spence next. So maybe sometime, definitely not 2019, maybe in 2020. That doesn't sound like you don't have the same energy you had when you're talking about all of these other fighters. You know, you weren't saying that about Danny. You weren't saying that about Mir Khan. You weren't saying that about Poli Malignaggi and all the other fighters that you were chasing at one point. Guerrero, Maidana, Floyd. You weren't saying all of that back then. And this is why people are looking at you funny like, yo, dude, what are you talking about, bro? You know, this is why people are calling you a ducker. I think you deserve the shot. But let's be consistent here. If you don't want to fight Errol Spence, just say you don't want to fight him. You know, I was one of the few people in here defending you when everyone said Errol was, you were ducking Errol while you were injured, or even before you were injured. You know, when you went to fight Danny Garcia, people were saying then that you were ducking Errol. And I said, oh, nah. Danny Garcia has done more as a welterweight. At that time, when you fought him, I defended you because Danny Garcia was a much more accomplished boxer. So I said, nah, that's cool. You know? But still, Errol has won a title. He's been beating everybody up at welterweight, everyone he's fought. I'm not going to give him too much credit for being Mikey Garcia. So what? Mikey's not a welterweight. He's not a proven welterweight. But all those other fights, you got to give him a credit for it. Just like you got to give credit for Terrence Crawford. You got to give him his credit too. He had 3 fights at welterweight. He stopped Khan, or Khan quit, or whatever. You know, he stopped Benavidez. He stopped Horn. You got to give him his credit. If you don't think he's that proven, then fight him. Take his belt. Just like we were saying, Amir Khan is overrated as a welterweight, but you were willing to fight him to prove that. So if you believe that Terrence Crawford is overrated as a welterweight, then take his belt. When those names come up, you just turn into a different person every single time. I mean, this is years later now, and you're still doing that. You know? This is what people have a problem with you. You know? But the fight is a good fight. You know? And if Errol got the phone call, Errol would take Manny Pacquiao too. Over Keith Thurman. Over Terrence Crawford. Over whoever else, Sean Porter, Danny Garcia. He would take the fight over all those guys. But he didn't get the phone call. So he has to do what he has to do and fight Sean Porter, which is great because that's a unification. And we just don't want to I believe Errol's going to win the fight, but you can't sleep on Porter. Porter is still a very well-proven welterweight, very active welterweight. He has a lot of names on his resume. Okay? So you got to give credit to Sean. Sean has put in his work too. All right? Keith beat him. Very debatable fight. All right? As far as Manny Pacquiao, what does this fight mean for him? You know, I don't believe that Manny Pacquiao is not holding a major title, like I said. So he's already done what he needed to do. This is a guy that moved up. He did what Mikey Garcia did and beat everybody's ass at 147. You know? Boxing fans have short-term memory, man. He doesn't need to prove anything. He can fight whoever he wants to fight. You know? If he is to beat Keith Thurman, it'll be a great win because he's one of the few guys that really crossed over when we had the old promotion war between Top Rank, you know, and Showtime. You know, this was before PBC, when Top Rank guys were just fighting for the WBO title and recycling fights. There was all these guys on Showtime, and they, you know, like Keith, like a Sean Porter. These guys over there, they weren't fighting the Top Rank guys. So I'm happy that Manny Pacquiao crossed over, because at least he's now fighting one of those guys, you know? I know there's more guys. No, he didn't fight Terrence Crawford while he was there. Um, and I know there's more guys in PBC, you know, but at least he's fighting Keith. At least he's fighting, as far as the records are concerned. If you're just saying, if we're just speaking resume, at least he's fighting a guy that's never lost a fight, and he has the best resume as a welter out of everybody that's left. Okay, so I'm glad he's doing that. If he is to win this fight, it's just another generation of guys, of top fighters that he's beat. He's beaten guys in this generation before. He's beaten a Chris Algieri. He's beaten a Brandon Rios. You know, who else has he beaten? He's beaten Matisse. You know, he's beaten Broner. But Keith is elite compared to those guys that I just named. So if he is to beat Keith, that's just another name to have under your belt while going to retirement. All the old guys, he beat a lot of the old guys from the last generations. He's beat the Miguel Cotto. You know, he's beaten Margarito and Marquez. You know, even though he got knocked out the last one, he beat Marquez. He beat Tim Bradley. But for him to come and beat Keith Thurman, that's great. That's just another thing to have, to win another title again. You know, I just believe the winner of this fight should fight the winner of Errol and Sean. You know, they should fight Terrence Crawford, but I'm being realistic here. It's not going to happen. They're not going to fight Terrence Crawford. You know, as much as it's unfair, but it is what it is. Manny could have fought him before he left Top Rank. He's not going to fight him now. You know, unless he's the only one left and he wins out of all of this little welterweight tournament that we have here. You know, Manny may fight him later, but down the line. But as far as them ducking and Errol Spence, I don't call it a duck. I think Keith is ducking Errol Spence, but I don't think he's ducking Errol Spence by picking Manny Pacquiao. But I do believe that the way Keith is, what he's saying in his interviews, the way he's wording it, by saying that this is a get back year, you're fighting Manny Pacquiao, but you don't want to fight Errol Spence this year, it's kind of like contradicting. It's like it sounds like you're taking the easier fight because you're trying to get back to what you used to. When you're talking about having two trainers and preparing and for your future and preparing, you're bringing Manny Pacquiao and preparation together as if there's a bigger challenge out there. And I think you're just looking at it all wrong, because Manny Pacquiao can beat you. Possibly. He may beat you. And number two, it's more proof that you think Errol is really like the main goal, the real danger for you. You can tell in his behavior, but you can make the argument, you know, that this is why people are saying it's a duck. I understand where it's coming from. I don't necessarily agree with it because it is Manny Pacquiao. But based on what Keith Thurman says, is like, dude, is this a real fight for you, or are you just trying to avoid someone, you know, or two guys? So if Keith wins this fight, he should win. He should fight the winner of those two, Sean Porter and Errol. If he doesn't, I don't know what he's going to do. I don't think you need another tune-up. You know? What are you having an in-between fight for if you are to beat Manny Pacquiao? You already been inactive. When you went from fighting Sean Porter to Danny Garcia, you waited a whole nother year to fight Danny. So even if you wait until next year to fight Errol, he still should be your next fight. And that's like something that we don't want to avoid. We don't want to let him get a pass for that. You don't want to fight him in 2019? Okay, cool. You don't want to do 3 fights this year? All right, fine. Cool. But if you do fight him in 2020, he should still be next. You know, let's not go back to, oh, I want to tune up. How many tune-ups do you need? If you beat Manny Pacquiao, that should be more than enough tune-up. Plus, Southpaw and Southpaw. You go right from fighting a Southpaw and Manny Pacquiao and go right into fighting Errol Spence if he is to win. Okay? Now, if Sean Porter wins the fight, what are you going to do? Are you going to fight Sean Porter next? Are you willing to fight Sean Porter and not willing to fight Errol Spence next? This is the reason why people think he's ducking. But anyone should get a pass if they're fighting Manny Pacquiao. That's my whole point. You fight Manny Pacquiao, anybody's gonna stop what they're doing to fight Manny Pacquiao. All right, so that's my thoughts on it all. And Manny Pacquiao can do what he wants to do. He can do what he wants to do, you know. But I do believe if Manny Pacquiao can beat Keith Thurman, he should be fighting the winner of Porter. He shouldn't be getting a pass on that because now you hold a title, and we want unifications. We want it undisputed. So let's get the undisputed going. So if Pacquiao wins, okay, what are you gonna do now? I know you are the star. You don't have nothing to prove, but we want you to still unify these titles if you do collect the title. But while you don't have a title right now, hey, fight whoever champion you choose to fight. They pick Keith Thurman. Many people think Errol's the best right now. Terrence Crawford's the best. A lot of people feel that way. But technically, Keith Thurman still is the most proven. All right? So I'm out, y'all. Peace.